For Chovy, it's his 5th quarterfinal in 5 years. Can he go further? Can he make it to the finals, to the promised land as a player? Can Gen.G do that as well? Because over the last few years, they've been domestically dominant, but overshadowed by T1 when it comes to international competition.
And for a first seed of the LCK, that's not enough, right? The expectations are sky high. We'll see if Gen.G today can conquer their demons from MSI and actually take the win here in game number 1.
And for BLG, they just want a repeat of last time. They've only played once. It was a 3-0, and BLG schooled Gen.G. A lot of it coming through Xun, working his way down towards that bottom lane. And here, they've got a composition that if he's in bot a lot, is going to help them out no end. We are on to Summoner's Rift once again. Gen.G versus BLG. As we see, just a normal line of scrimmage. You guys, if you want to get involved at home, you can connect your League of Legends account with Prime Gaming to grab the exclusive Braum W emote. Is a good one. A little bit of a, Ender would be proud.
I get that reference.
Yeah. Like it's just a Twitch chat.
Yes.
Oh.
Braum W, very
Heck
similar
W.
to it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's good.
I think we're allowed to say what it's referring to. I think
I
that's.
didn't think I was just.
I haven't checked it past legal actually. If I get yanked off, it's just a crook around my neck pulling me off.
You can't say Keck W.
I'm sorry, guys.
I think we'll be okay.
Yeah,
You'll be fine.
I think it's fine.
You'll be fine.
I haven't looked at the law book for a long time, but I feel like you're safe on this one, Matic.
I hope so too.
Now, no Hail of Blades on the Azir, something that we did see debut at this Worlds from Showmaker when he played up against Caps. It gives you so much priority and control in the lane, but as the game goes on, it offers less value. Chovy's just pretty confident in his ability to go toe-to-toe against Yagao in this mid-lane matchup. And we got to look at where these junglers are starting. Early vision has been invested on the side of BLG, so they will spot Peanut on his red. He started on his Raptors, and he could look for a play towards the bot side of the map, but he may very well just path back up towards top and look for a play to set Doran up for success.
Yeah, Peanut actually, with the sweep, are able to take down the ward. Will still get spotted, so it will still give the information to BLG, but it will deny any further and give Peanut a little bit of resources. Now, at MSI, BLG was able to dismantle both LCK teams with very similar strategies. Very aggressive early trading for Elk and On, and then turn that into an early gank from Xun, and from that point on take control. So we'll have to see. I think the early level 1 from Elk and On looks convincing. They're also obviously expected to take a lead, and they should be able to, yeah, I was about to say, get the ward off here. You know the Peanut is there. They'll be able to clear out the vision, though.
With a big wave crashing in, Elk and On need to be aware the enemy jungler can be near. You can actually see Xun skipping all of his bot side camps to work his way down here first. Puts a ward over the wall, catches Peanut. Should just be a trade here as the Pheromancy will get Peanut over the wall. On and Elk still pushing in, but I don't think we'll see a dive this early on.
So this is very common from Xun, often playing around the bot side of the map, something that we've been seeing a lot, pretty much ever since MSI. A large part of their resurgence and climb to the top, ending the regular season at 15-1, but was because of how dominant they could be in the early game. Their willingness to set up these early game dives, something that we shouldn't be too surprised to even look for in this game. Obviously can be very difficult against a champion like Tahm Kench, but something that BLG will definitely be considering, especially as they've already gotten that early push.
Yeah, I think you're going to try and get as much done pre-6. Post-6, the ganks become so much harder, even if you are able to overload and maybe get Yagao there, over there, right? Becomes really tough to consistently get the CC. So I really like this from Xun. Continued attention towards the bot side. Peyz and Delight are pretty full, do have their summoners available, but even blowing them would already be a big win.
Only cleanse on Peyz as well. On can look for that handshake. Delight standing in front. There's the ignite. Peyz cleanses with a flash follow from Xun means the Peyz the ultimate price bailout on won't get him out of dodge this time. 1-for-1 trade in the bottom lane.
The play is worth it though overall for BLG. The amount of farm and experience, Peyz does get a return kill, which is kind of the best case scenario for him, but we were just talking about this bot lane dive, and Xun without any hesitation says, what, just because you see me, you think that's going to stop me? They find first blood.
And as mentioned, Peyz does pick up the kill, but the wave is bouncing away from them. Actually, highlighting Xun here, really good follow-up on that flash, right? If he doesn't hit the flash, flag and drag, this might actually end up backfiring. But look at that, the last second reaction secures the play, because otherwise, On might die, and Elk obviously taking the next turret, so wouldn't have been able to really continue the play. So credit to the Jarvan there, getting that early pressure in.
Did see Doran winning out on the top side early on here, about a wave of farm ahead, although the wave is crashing, so we'll see how much Bin can catch that. Kind of knows that his jungler's not going to be around top too much. You see the compositions and you understand that BLG will want to play through bot. Good news for Gen.G was that it was Xun that picked up the kill rather than Elk, so the pure 2v2 not as powerful yet for BLG.
What is really big now is how well BLG is able to punish the lack of summoners on Peyz, because I think that's something that LPL teams in particular are really, really good at. It is look for these mega aggressive plays when you know there is a window. And they're starting up Dragon right now. I don't feel like Gen.G should contest this, but it wouldn't be a first. We saw them do it against T1 as well.
I mean, Gen.G at this point in the game, obviously very early, should consider themselves much weaker. Only a few levels, and Kalista Renata is a duo that you really don't want to fight this early on, especially with Azir in mid lane, not really going to offer a huge amount of damage. I wanted to highlight, they've kind of phased away now, but two very deep wards, one in the lane from BLG and also just next to the Krug camp in the lane itself, so they can just keep information as to whether or not Peanut is trying any lane ganks. And you can see that BLG's game plan is so committed to playing around bots.
On's going to get rooted. He doesn't have flash, remember. Flash forward by Peanut and On pays the price. In the bottom lane, Gen.G back on the board. Peyz gets his second of the game. Doran trading in the top lane, Grandmaster's Might. On to Bin. Bin tries to turn it back around. Doran trying to get the empowered autos off. Both of them still have their flashes, but it's a trade of ultimates and not much more.
I mean, credit to Gen.G. I thought the BLG's control was good, but those wards that I was trying to highlight did disappear. They didn't have information on where Peanut was. They were pushed too deep into the lane when they didn't really have much information, and Gen.G made that look easy. They punished On's lack of summoner spells, and now they have the kill lead.
Ooh, Doran might get caught here.
Does have flash. Counter-strike early. Xun trying to get away from it. Eats a honey fruit, and it's fine for the moment. Doran forced away. Wave is crashing in, but you can see Peanut already worked his way up through this topside jungle, so if a dive does occur or materialize, Peanut is in the right position at the right time, and the Nut God's looking for something as they go forward. Bin has to flash away. Doran has a flash. Follow Counter-Strike coming out, and Bin is locked up and sent packing by Gen.G.
And Peanut, his pathing this game has been immaculate, covering for the early dive. Yes, they're able to get the kill, but at least Peyz gets a counter. Then gets off the gank on without summoners, and then is top to not only cover for a potential dive on Doran, but even find an angle. Bin doesn't have his ultimate available, and they're able to get the kill.
Summoner spell burnt from Bin means that Gen.G definitely have early game options. And remember that the scaling definitely feels like it's in Gen.G's favor. They're going to have this Jax side lane threat that's only going to get stronger as the game continues. Aphelios and Azir, their range is going to be very difficult to deal with, especially for a champion like Kalista. BLG need to find these advantages in the early game. So we have to question, what's the plan now for Xun? Are you going to look to dive bot once again? Because that's a stacked wave where there's no real opportunities. And with those chakrams, he thins that wave out immediately.
Would expect BLG to look for both the next dragon as well as an early herald. Chovy trading aggressively. Xun's waiting with flash available.
Now just using the shockwave there to try and push Chovy back a little bit. Maybe just wants a recall, only sitting on the amp tone right now. Every dive bot becomes harder for BLG because Delight now has the Devour, and Peanut, they need an EpiPen or something because it's anaphylactic shock for BLG. The face call will get them out, but once again, an engage ultimate being burnt to disengage for BLG.
And that's the flash on Elk now gone, making it much harder. Although BLG will answer towards the top side of the map and pick themselves a Herald.
I mean, I kind of expected BLG to just push in that wave and rotate up towards the Herald to then look for a contest. Nice trading there from Bin. Doran forced to pop the ultimate. He needs to be careful now. Of course, he is on the weak side. Doesn't have much HP.
No
He
flash
did get
either.
spotted.
Does Xun go with the Cataclysm? Might just be an EQ. Forces Doran back. Don't want to burn the Cataclysm, but Doran forced away. Rift Herald can come down. Xun, of course, has to wait to be out of combat to be able to place that. Bin's already taken one plate. Do they want more?
I think they'd much rather use the Herald bot, though. When you have this Kalista Renata, you want to make sure that they do have an advantage going into the mid-game. Ideally, you can get that first item spike before the Aphelios, so that when you get to these next dragons, Dragon 2, Dragon 3, you're in a stronger position around that 2-item mark.
Also saw there really good communication from BLG. The second that Chovy started roaming up to cover for a potential dive and make a counterplay is, oh, Yagao is forced to flash. We immediately saw the pings go down. However, Gen.G trying to contest this Herald. I don't know if Peanut reinforcements are on the way.
Delight's on his way across. No Fate's Call yet for Elk, still half the time on that, but they do have the hostile takeover if they want to look for more. Xun goes in, they find Peyz. Cataclysm down, but the Devour already used by Delight. Now the hostile takeover popping as well. The shield from Peyz, he tries to cleanse away, but he's slowed. Severum's going to heal him up, but Peanut pulled back with a handshake, and BLG win out the skirmish.
Really big win there for BLG, and this is the disrespect that we saw Gen.G show against T1 as well. The early power of this Kalista Renata can be so hard to deal with, and it's Xun that sets it up with a lot of upfront burst on Peyz.
I mean, massive disrespect from Gen.G.
Yeah.
I thought that they were able to escort themselves out with the support coming in from the bot lane. Notice as well, Yagao kind of has control over the mid wave as well, so Chovy can't come to assist. Xun with what felt to me like initially a very aggressive play, isolating himself from the backline, but he actually creates this wall that there's no threat onto Elk. He flashes away to safety, Delight is forced to flash away, and very quickly Gen.G is on the retreat with Elk and on the chase down. It's a bit of a shame that they don't give the kill over to Elk, but aside from that, BLG looking confident in this early game.
It's also the weakness of Devour. If you are swallowing up your AD carry, and you only have a Rell and a Tahm Kench there to try and put any damage back onto the enemy team, becomes very tricky. I like the Tahm Kench in team fights, but when it's a 3v3, it becomes a lot harder to make sure you're matching the DPS of BLG. Delight here trying to trade towards this dragon would be the second of the game for BLG, and Delight's just being a nuisance. He knows they can't take this away. BLG get their second 11 minutes in with it, about a 600, 700 gold lead. The question is, can they continue to accelerate this game? Because Gen.G, oh, they can't. They had to pause it. Don't know if that was BLG or Gen.G, but as soon as I say accelerate, we decide to slow the tempo down just a tad.
Does look like the pauses come out from the side of Gen.G. Of course, when we have more information, we will share it with you, but a very back and forth early game. Gen.G, no strangers to being proactive in the early game. Like during the regular season, Peanut was someone that was always willing to find ganks, always look for opportunities, and I was kind of like coming into this series trying to identify, is he like a top side focused player? Is he a bot side focused player? He tends to just kind of go with whatever opportunity he can find. Peanut's got a great awareness on the map of where he can punish small openings, and you've already seen it this game, right? Punishing the flash that's on in the bottom lane, seeing that Bin was slightly overextended in top, trying to push that wave underneath the tower, and he finds another play. Gen.G able to find these early kills, whereas BLG looking to try and match them. A small 800 gold lead. Question is, will that be enough as we get closer to the mid game?
As you said, Betty, it was Gen.G who called for the pause. There was a peripheral issue for one of their players. League officials are currently investigating, and obviously we will continue to keep you informed as and when we get more information here on the desk.
And I think that right now both teams can look at this game and be like, we're in a pretty good position. Because Gen.G, Peyz hasn't been completely taken out of the game the way that happened against BLG last time they faced off. I think that that's the biggest weakness of this player has been, not even necessarily all up to him, but just in general, if he gets focused down really heavily in laning phase, he doesn't get to show his prowess in late game team fights. But he's fine, he picked up a bunch of kills, so even though he's behind in CS, he will still be decently when it comes to
300 gold ahead right
actually
now.
Ahead even. Thank you, Vedi. And then we also have Doran with a lead, which on the Jax always is going to feel really good. But on the flip side, BLG have already stacked 2 Drakes, and their mid game is only going to get scarier for like the next 10-15 minutes. And it is an Ocean Drake, which I think is a pretty decent role. Yeah. It's not, you know, it's not infernal.
Cloud, you know.
It's not, well, yeah, speaking
great for my pick
to my heart there.
You know what I mean?
Oh, really? I went Hextech.
I think I went Ocean.
I went Cloud. I had no choice. But
well, I was going to say,
well.
aren't you bound to Cloud?
I am
by
bound to
rules
Cloud.
Of the LCK?
Yeah. Just by Atlas, really. That's entirely on him.
But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think if BLG hadn't managed to pick up these 2 Drakes, it would be very Gen.G favored. But because now Gen.G kind of have to look at, do we fight the 3rd Drake? If we don't, we have to fight every Drake from there on out. Otherwise, we do give over this Soul. Of course, Soul's not a game ender, but it's still, you know, 2,000-3,000 gold worth of stats across your team that can absolutely skew fights in your favor, even if your opposition has the scaling advantage compositionally.
I think particularly with Aatrox and Renata, it is such a lethal combo to have the extra sustain, right? Because Aatrox is self-explanatory. As a drain tank, he's always going to feel really happy when he has even more healing in his kit. But I think the added bailout value that you can possibly eke out with an Ocean Soul can be really tough to deal with. And I think that Gen.G also, their team fighting has been amazing, but I do think that when they are pushed really heavily early on and they're not able to do the objective setups the way that they like to, we have seen them struggle somewhat in the LCK as well. So we'll see if they're able to retake control, because the Gen.G with control, as we saw domestically, is almost impossible to deal with. But right now, not really the case yet.
They have also shown us, even at this Worlds, that they can retake control. Like they played Gigabyte, they played GAM, and they played G2, and those were kind of as expected. They won those games convincingly. But against T1, they fell quite far behind in the early game. Faker's Orianna was 2,000 gold ahead at 14 minutes. But then Gen.G slowly got bit by bit advantages, small advantages, traded up a couple of times, and were able to start absolutely snowballing the game away from T1. I will say, in my eyes, a lot of that came to Delight being on a carry, being on an engaged threat with the Rakan. Here on the Tahm Kench, you don't quite have all of those tools. And as we see the ready checks coming out in chat, it looks like we'll be getting back into the game pretty soon. It was Chovy who had the peripheral issue, but it looks like it has been rectified, as hopefully we jump back onto Summoner's Rift.
So we're going to be jumping back into game, and if you are just joining us, this is the World Championship quarterfinal. Yesterday we saw NRG versus Weibo, and spoiler alert, Weibo did win. That means that the winner of this series will be going on to face Weibo in the semi-finals. Many consider this the easier side of the bracket, if you're Gen.G.
Or even BLG if they manage to win this.
Potentially, yeah.
The semi-final is easier than anything you could face on the other side.
Of course, depending on who you ask, that could be a controversial statement. Of course, we are going to be moving into tomorrow all sorts of incredible series, as well as move on to the other side of the bracket. But back into this game, Doran and Bin going for a bit of a back and forth.
A really good trade here from Bin's going to pull Doran back. The Grandmaster's Might coming out. Now, Doran does have Flash and Leap Strike, and so can escape. Has to burn both, though, to get to the security of his tower. And with Xun here, Peanut is waiting in the wings. He's been very good at tracking his enemy jungler, being in the right position at the right time, but I don't really know if you want to take this trade. Chovy has TP, as does Yagao.
Oh, Peanut is hiding in the fog, but will get spotted now. I think just making sure that Doran gets the full wave. Teleport's available. It's still a really big window for BLG, as Peanut has to invest amount of time in spot lane.
Going for Peyz. Now he has Cleanse, he has the Flash, and he has the Devour to get out. Delight down to about half HP, but the thick skin comes healthy enough. Moonlight Vigil with the crescendum there from Peyz, just to force Elkin on further back. But in the end, a trade of ultimates and not much more in the bottom lane.
Fortunately for Peyz, this wave is pushing towards him, so he should be able to catch this. He knows that the jungler is on the top side of the map, so he shouldn't have to worry about any early ganks. He will lose a little bit of farm here, and you can see these discrepancies starting to build. The analyst desk did talk about it. When it came to this AD carry matchup, it was slightly more favored towards Peyz, but when we think back to MSI, Elk was one of the breakout, standout players of the entire tournament. People were putting him in the conversation for best performing AD as Chovy.
Down has Flash, but he's not going to be able to get away from Peanut, who lands the stun immediately. The shockwave only catches onto Chovy, and Yagao is going to get chased down here. Chovy puts down the soldiers, and Yagao is buried beneath their feet. Doran with a good jump away, but Xun chases in, and still it's only Xun that's picked up kills for BLG.
And it's punch and immediate counter punch. Gen.G are able to punish the Orianna, even with Flash Up. Yagao realizes that there's too much damage available, doesn't actually get to survive, but Doran does get punished for his earlier play as Elk. There's no wave, so we'll see if they're able. Peyz is trying to bring it in, but I don't think that there really is a window with more people from BLG moving over, and Gen.G decide the better of it.
Next objectives on the map. In 40 seconds, a Rift held, 2 minutes before the third Drake for BLG. If they fight around it, you can see On and Xun reacting to the pressure that their AD carry was put under. I do think that Elk will want to base pretty soon, pick up that first completed item. Overall, as you say, it's a bit of a boxing match between these two. Currently on points, no knockdowns as of yet. We'll have another look at this topside play, but see, Doran jumps in and Shun's like, you have no flash. Back in I go.
I mean, I often wonder if one of the disadvantages of picking Jax into a Jax main is you're playing into a guy that really understands the limits of the champion, and every time we see Bin trade, it feels like he's always walking away with the health advantage. He's now got a half-level lead over Doran, who started the lane off very well, but I feel like after a few favorable trades for Bin, we've seen just a lot of pressure come out from Xun. Peanut has had to spend a decent amount of time trying to cover as well. And this top side of the map is very quickly swinging in BLG's favor. They now find themselves with a 2.5k gold lead, which, as they enter the mid-game, is exactly where they want to be. And
this is also something that Doran has struggled with, right? This is a play that really wants to prove, as we saw, jokingly is able to say, hey, you know, I'm not the star, I don't have a lot going on, But in his play, I think you can see he has a lot of these moments as the contest is going to come through.
TP in. Xun can look for this. Counter TP burnt by Yagao. Xun on the front line. Bin's going to dash across the wall. The Rift out down to 1,000. Hostile takeover, though, is going to do so much work. Peyz already berserk as Delight is forced away, and now Doran's in the midst of BLG, and Bin is looking to send him packing. Into the recycling he goes. Come back next time as Bin chases the rest of Gen.G away. Gen.G picked this fight, and they do not want it anymore. Chovy has to burn the flash as the voyage out from Delight is abyssal, and the fight for Gen.G was abysmal.
It's at this point in the game where BLG want to fight you, and Gen.G, Chovy looks for a play, gets the flash out of Elk, but it's just a consolation prize as Gen.G falls short in the fight, trying to force this when it feels like BLG at this point in the game should be so much stronger. Questionable play from Gen.G.
Not only that, I think it might also lead to them not being able to contest the third dragon, setting up Soulput. And if we look here, the engage is disjointed. Peyz throws an ultimate into only on, and there is no follow-up damage thanks to the re-engage from Xun and the way that the Cataclysm denied the rest of Gen.G entry to the fight, and then that allows Bin to pop off with his lead. And Elk at no point is under any threat.
The EQ from Xun was just so instrumental there. The way that he interrupted the engage from Peanut into the immediate ultimate from Renata meant that that front line just dissipated. And the positioning of Elk as well, fantastic fight from BLG. Now they're in a comfortable lead against Gen.G.
I just think Gen.G can't be caught in a choke point like that. BLG, when they're first on the play, have so many options to funnel you into a choke point and then use Cataclysm, Fate's Call, World Ender from Bin. They've got the hostile takeover as well and the shockwave. Like, if you are funneled, there is no way you're getting on this BLG backline.
And one of the big things that set Gen.G apart domestically was their ability to identify we shouldn't do this and just go for a good cross map. And I think that that is something that internationally they just haven't really been able to show. And in this game, we're seeing it again. T1 is the team of, no, we take the fight. We just hand stiff it, it's fine. Gen.G have been so consistent over the last year and a half, I think specifically because they have been really good about which fights to pick. But thus far in this game, we're not really seeing it. Now, I do think that eventually Peyz will reach a point, Chovy will reach a point, but if you keep giving up these type of fights to BLG, they're just going to run away with the game. Get a Baron, and this is done. I
mean, but when BLG went 15-1 in the regular season, it was play like this that got them there. This is how they were dominating the domestic scene. So we'll have to see if Gen.G can turn things around. Both teams are incredible team fighters. Sneaky steal there from Xun. But huge credit to BLG. Like, you think back at their tournament, they were able to beat KT, lost to JDG. Were able to beat Fnatic, they got smashed by T1. And coming into this series, you'd sit there and think, well, if you lost so handily to T1, you're going up against the bigger brother of Gen.G. Surely you should come in as the underdogs in this matchup. But BLG, they've brushed off the mistakes that they made in Swiss, and they're looking confident and poised to take game one.
And credit to Xun as well. Although he has been tracked well by Peanut and by Gen.G, he is still 3-0-2. He has still been involved in every single one of his team's kills, and he has still forced Peanut so far behind. Peanut still hasn't finished his jungle item. He's about to get it, but that's why he didn't win the smite on Gromp, because his smite does 900 and Xun's does 1,200. He is just too far ahead. Now, both the jungle items complete for these junglers. BLG setting up towards the top side of the map, because in a minute, the next major objective will spawn the Baron available to them if they want to play around it. Also, this vision line gives Bin a little bit more safety in pushing further forward. I think the last time we looked at the gold, he was about 1,000 to 1,400 gold ahead of Doran. And everything is coming up very, very well. 1,800 gold lead in the top lane for Bin.
Yeah. I was just about to say that gold gap is primarily focused on the top side of the map. You'll notice that Xun actually has the same amount of gold as Chovy, which is pretty good.
And Chovy's been Chovy. You know, 197 CS, almost 200 before the 20-minute mark. And he has been forcing Yagao back in the middle lane as well. We've seen him burn Yagao's flash a couple of times and get that kill. But when it comes to team fights right now, BLG has to be favored just because of the power of their composition on these item spikes.
And it's here where the early investment from BLG really paid off, right? Where the early dragon stacking, plus the fact that they were able to win the Herald fight really is going to make a big difference, because because of the lack of turrets, the outer ring for Gen.G fully gone, it's really hard for them to maintain control of any area. So every time that they walk forward and try to set up any sort of vision control, it is immediately cleared out by BLG. And you don't really want to take a fight as Gen.G, so you just have to back off every single time. But that does mean that BLG is going to have a free setup for this soul point that is coming up in a minute and a half. And with that, 4-0 Drake also means a very early Elder, which I think BLG are going to be very happy about.
I also just really like the way On's playing these last few moments. He's doing something Treats talked to me about a little bit. He made a really good video on Mickey doing it in the LEC. It's tempo cycling. What you do is you walk down one side of the map as your support, and you're like, okay, I'm going to place 3 wards on this side of the map. Then you immediately reset and you say, okay, what do I do now? Well, I come up towards the top side of the map. I don't usually do this, I'm sorry guys. I walk in with my jungler, and then I place more wards on this side of the map. And what it means is, the enemy team is always trying to deny vision in their own jungle instead of getting deeper vision in. But also, if Doran is pushing the bot lane and he starts to move up, you can track him on his moves. So you know whether he's investing the TP immediately or whether he's actually trying to run all the way up to a fight that can occur.
And means, look at the map. Look at the vision toggle here. Really, really well done by the observers. Like, Gen.G have zero idea. They're basically just walking into this, and of course, Delight and Peanut relatively safe, but they can still get collapsed on. I think Gen.G might be able to hit 2 item spikes on Chovy and Peyz. We'll see if they feel like that's enough of an angle, because it does feel like if they don't contest for this this dragon, it is going to be really hard. The window gear from here out. Chovy does just now finish his Nashor's Peyz his IE as well.
Bot wave is pushed in for BLG. The fight over the mid wave has begun. Gen.G don't really have easy access into this bot river. The vision the medic highlighted earlier in favor of BLG. You can see the Yagao posturing towards the river. The dragon now alive. Elk will start it off.
They can't get to this, right? There's no vision. They have to try and make either for the play for the fight or go for Nash, but...
And Peanut can try and walk across here, but Yagao's doing a really good job of keeping the ball down. Peanut now going to try and chase forward, but Yagao is in the right position to stop them. The Magnet Storm for Peanut, he's nowhere near them! It's just miles away. They got an EpiPen or something, because Peanut not doing anything to them as BLG secure the ocean. And that was a Peanut at Worlds moment if I've ever seen one.
The engage goes wide. Gen.G now don't have an easy way to start the fight. Doran
gonna get brought back, pops the stopwatch, handshake coming out, Moonlight Vigil does hit the Infernum, there's the hostile takeover, Cataclysm onto the backline though, and Doran's been locked up, the Shockwave finds him. The Devour comes out as Chovy starts to retreat, but already it's 2 kills to BLG, and Gen.G are found wanting by the unwanted aggression from BLG.
And it's again BLG able to very calmly play out this scenario. They set up full control. They know that Gen.G has to walk in. Peanut has to go for a desperation play, but with the ultimate gone, no Magnet Storm, no engage, there is nothing that they can do than the turn from BLG, who are more than happy to look for a fight. That's Soul, and that's Baron.
We're seeing the weaknesses of Gen.G's comp, where when Peanut doesn't have an engage, how does Gen.G actually start a fight? Not that they really want to in this position, but Doran goes in, Chovy's forced to back away, Peanut is isolated, and then look at this engage from Xun. Oh my god, it's fantastic. 3 members get locked up. The Devour will come through after the ultimate to try and keep Chovy alive. Doran falls short, but the wombo combo is strong. Peyz and Peanut cannot get involved, and it's just a one-sided stomp from the side of BLG.
And I really agree with you, Veddy. I think the lack of engage for Gen.G is costing them so much, especially since so often it's been Delight on an engaged champion that sets up the fights for Gen.G. We saw it against T1, his Rakan, exemplary, but on a Tahm Kench, your entire job is to disengage. Yes, sometimes in lane we see Abyssal Voyages in, we see a fight beginning with it, but here you just don't have that luxury. And Gen.G are struggling because of it, and BLG once again seem to be Gen.G's kryptonite.
And now Gen.G, you're at the point of the game where you just gotta hope that someone on BLG overextends, right? That they make a dive that is ill-advised. And I really, really like the point that you made, because about Delight specifically, because Delight on engaged champions has not only transformed Gen.G, but also was what made Breon so good when he was on that team. What gave them the ability to just get upset wins every now and then. The Red Bull Baron power play for BLG. It's not backbreaking yet, but still, pushing them further and further ahead, and if they can get this inner as well and maybe a few kills, it'll be really hard for Gen.G to find an angle back. Almost 6k gold lead here for BLG.
So this is where it can get a little shaky for BLG. They've got to get close to this tower, and look at where Chovy's positioning. He's standing just a little bit in front of the tower so that the soldiers can act as poke and as a guard to keep this tower alive, and BLG can't approach. They're very reliant on this empowered cannon minion. Meanwhile, we need to look at mid, because what damage has been able to do against this tower, he's getting a lot more work done. Doran can't do much to hold him off, and BLG at least will unlock a tier 2, but off the back of this Baron, it seems difficult for BLG to really break into the base of Gen.G.
BLG don't really have the range either. Kalista relatively short range, Orianna, I mean, you can put the ball down, but walking into melee range to try and get autos on that tower, or walking into auto attack range, doesn't do enough. The shockwave doesn't hit there. Peanut held on to his flash in the engage around Dragon, so he does have that as a tool in his toolkit, but it does look like BLG are just hoping Bin can apply enough pressure in this mid lane to allow them to push through that bot lane. The wave's still about 5-6 seconds away, so not quite synced, as Gen.G have done a really good job of holding BLG at bay during this Baron. The hostile takeover comes out, Peyz able to dodge to the side of it, Berserk for Delight and Chovy, but the re-engage can come out. That's one tool invested by BLG. They still have the face call, the Cataclysm, the Shockwave down for about half its CD. And that tower still stands strong. No wave in the mid lane for Bin to push on. The Baron now expires. And in all, only a couple of towers fall during it for BLG.
Well, Gen.G held the line. Overall, the amount of damage done by BLG wasn't the worst, and it gives them an opportunity to fight at this Elder. The question is, will they be able to finish more items? Hang on, that Shockwave almost off cooldown, 6 more seconds, so Peanut's gonna back away. I respect BLG's resilience. They know that the Dragon isn't spawning for another minute and a half.
There is also no control ward or anything for Gen.G behind him, right? So they can't go for the teleport flank. It's not like Chovy and Doran can get back on Nexus, and the persistence is rewarded here for BLG. Also courtesy to the Ocean Soul. In a situation like this, the continuous regen really makes a big difference.
The war of attrition, they're always going to win,
yeah,
right?
100%. And BLG now will be able to get fresh backs in. It's free items for Bin, free items for Elk, and Gen.G need a miracle to not lose Elder and the subsequent game here, right? Like, you need either a crazy steal from Peanut. I do think Rell is one of the best champions because of the Q and E extra monster damage. Or maybe Peyz can hit his Lord Doms, but I feel like he's still so far off. Does actually finish it as I finish my sentence, but they have zero control. And BLG have 50 seconds to set up the objective here.
Well, it was an Elder Dragon that cost BLG game 2 against G2.
Hey.
So you imagine that they're going to learn from those mistakes. The amount of control they have right now, the observers are highlighting all of the vision that BLG have. And Gen.G are slowly being suffocated. They have that one control ward in the Dragon Pit, which
It's
so
the
far
benefit
has
of
been
Ocean.
spotted.
It's the benefit of Ocean here for Gen.G. Now, Peanut caught out a little bit. Should be able to get his way away from this one. Xun now spots the control ward in the pit.
That's
well
big.
done by BLG to make sure they cleared out all their corners.
Xun.
And Xun can look for more because Peanut dismounted right now. Remounts, you just go for it. EQ in, flag and drag, Cataclysm as well. Delight has to flash as does Peanut. Inferno from the side means that On is down to half HP, but that's so much invested by Gen.G. And with not too much gain, they have mid-wave prio, but will it be enough? Elder spawns, Elk starts it. Bin keeps Doran and Peanut at bay. No flash for Peanut, remember, just burnt it. But he can get into this fight. The Shockwave finds Chovy, Delight, and Peyz now beginning to step it up. Devour available for Delight. Peyz dodges the Berserk for the hostile takeover. Already finds one, and Bin is done with this game. The Elder secure. Peyz tries to dash away, but Bin puts him in his place as BLG clean up in the river.
And BLG immediately head towards the bot side of the map. Wave is ready. No turret standing there. Doran desperately trying to draw some attention, but it was not enough, and BLG take a resounding victory here in game number 1, and it looks like Gen.G and Messiah might have been half a year ago, but it's not looking that different in game number 1.
A tale as old as time between these two teams, it seems, as BLG come out to an early lead and are able to snowball it away from Gen.G. A few mistakes for Gen.G. Doran as well in the top lane specifically had struggled into Bin after a few good early forays, and BLG never let go of the reins. Gen.G respawning, but the Elder still stands on BLG, and they can look for the fight. The Magnustorm finds 2, but Peyz pulled back, and he's just deleted by the laser. Peanut follows suit, and BLG playing with Gen.G as they clean it up to go 1-0 up in this quarterfinal.
Xun's only death to the Nexus at the very end. An incredible game across the board from him in the jungle. From start to finish, he was finding all of BLG's advantages, and